Senator Ludlam.
Just going to presume, I'll take your advice, but I presume this is the right place to ask it. Mr Wilkins, I was asking you before about the AGD's FOI disclosure log. Is this an appropriate time to raise that one?
Sorry, say it again, Senator. I was just...
the department's FOI disclosure log. So it used to be that when you release documents into the public domain, you would release a link to the document themselves on your website. You've ceased doing that. Can you just provide us some background as to why and when that occurred?
I'll get Ms Glanville to do that, actually.
Are we on to FOI?
Senator Louise Glanville, Acting Deputy Secretary. So under Section 11C of the Freedom of Information Act, departments are able to define their disclosure log by release in different ways, and the Attorney General's Department has made a change in the way in which it does that, although still complying with Section 11C in the Act, which is publishing on the website other details of how the information may be obtained. The reason why that change was made was because the documents on the website as they currently existed were, it's a technical answer, were in a PDF format, and because the PDF format is not accessible to all of the population that may choose to use them, that would have downgraded our overall website accessibility rating.
So now they're not accessible to anybody. So there's real equality.
Well, as it's indicated on our website, people can request those, and we will make them available to them. But that was the rationale behind it. Still complies with the legislation, but the decision was made as a consequence of the fact that the PDFs were having an impact on our overall accessibility rating of our website, particularly, for example, for people with disability was the rationale behind that.
That's absolutely bent. Now there's nothing there at all.
Well, we're still complying with the legislation, and people can still
rather narrower form of compliance, though.
People can still request access to those documents, Senator, and still compliant with 11C. But that was the rationale. For
did you contemplate putting them up in some kind of open format, open document format?
We've looked at that, and we're still looking at that. It is quite difficult because of the nature of the redactions in documents.
Maybe you should redact things less.
It is something we're certainly looking at. We know it's an issue, and we're committed to looking at that further.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm relieved to know that it's still an open process, that we might end up seeing things loaded back up. You folk really you should be setting the example, the highest standards of transparency.
Do you have a question? They're not here.
All right, that's a fair call, Chair. Look, earlier on again, Mr Wilkins, we briefly, I was going to say clashed, but we briefly discussed a story that had run on the ABC around freedom of information requests from your department relating to a briefing that had occurred a few months before the Snowden revelations. You pulled me up and said that's not quite right. The Secretary's made a copy of the article and also the page of the FOI.
Sure. Can we tell you why the article's not right?
Yeah, I'd greatly appreciate that, just briefly, and I'll just table that article.
Can I get Tony Sheehan to explain it to you? It takes a little bit of explanation because there are some technical aspects to this. Tony. Well, you don't need the article. You've seen it, haven't you?
Tony Sheehan, Deputy Secretary.
Can we...
It was more for these folks.
Okay.
You should read it, Joe. It's interesting.
Got a couple there. I think this is the one we've already seen. Yeah, I think this is the one we've already seen.
So, Senator, the background to this is that in considering the FOI request, all documents, as we would always do, that were within the scope of the request were considered. There was one document which was considered and which we concluded was an exempt document, which was a protected briefing to the attorney.
Is that the 21st of March document?
And the document date was listed as the 21st of March.
Yep.
The date on the document is the date the template was created. It was a generic template. The information relevant to the FOI request was not actually entered into the template until July, but because the officers looking at it could find no other document date but the overall template date, because there are a number of things put into such a template. The best date that they could put there was March, but actually that March date was not the date that the information relevant to the FOI request was entered. That was July.
It's quite useful information, so that's much appreciated. It is somewhat misleading, though, to put a document into the public domain that's out of date by a factor of 4 or 5 months.
Senator, it's important to note, in no way would the department attempt to be misleading. The officer was acting in good faith, picking the date on the document, the only date they had. If I had seen that at the time and realised that, then I would have sought another date that would have been more helpful.
Did you speak to the journalist in question and attempt to correct the record? Because that story created quite a stir at the time.
No, we would have been very willing to, but we were unaware that the story was running until after it had run.
Sure, but no, I get that. But did you seek to correct the record after the story had gone to
There
press?
was contact, I think, between our communications area and the journalists. I don't know the details of what that communication was.
Okay, but the story was still live. We did a search for it this afternoon, so you don't appear to have tried all that hard. Not to worry. And just for the record, what we receive is a page full of black felt marker, and so that's not particularly helpful for us trying to establish the veracity of the date of the document. I probably, Chair, if I carry on, I'm going to stray into substantive issues, so that's all I've got for this group for this part of the schedule.
Thank you, Senator Ludlam.